Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over how I import my plants, and you get to watch me repot my philodendron El Chaco. So stay tuned. So I think the first question everyone is going to have is, how do you get started and how do you start importing your own plants? Now, disclaimer, I am from Canada, so this information pertains to individuals in Canada. So, my El Chaco, look at him. Let's check out these roots first before I get started. Oh yeah, it's doing pretty good. All right, so you need to first sign in online, and I think it's my CFIA that you're looking for, and you're gonna want to apply for your permit there. Now, once you go through the steps, I do want to say that there's one section, and hopefully I'll be able to find it and show you guys, but you don't want to say like you want to import philodendron El Chaco. You have to kind of be very broad and say you're importing philodendron species. Same with anthuriums or syngoniums, monstera, all of those. And the reason for that is because if you say that you're just importing philodendron El Chacos, for example, then if your supplier sends you something else, they're gonna send it back and say you don't have a permit for it. So that's a headache. What else? When you're importing from overseas, so I have imported with Indonesia and Thailand. My experience with Indonesia has been pretty good, actually. My seller is actually really very responsive and always communicates with me. I currently have something stuck in customs right now, and obviously they're dead, and he was like, don't worry about it, I'll just resend you new ones when it's spring, which is really nice of him. He didn't have to do that, but he will. So I'll give you an update on that and show you what that looks like. Clearly I can't multitask. What else? Another thing that another question that I received was, well, how do you know your seller is reliable? Or how do you know he's like one of the good ones? And honestly, you don't. It's just, that's the risk that you're gonna be taking on with imports, because you just don't know. I think another question that I had was, actually when you are importing from overseas, the seller has to have a phyto certificate attached to your package. Otherwise it's just going to be a disaster. And I also want to make note that your supplier also needs to write down exactly which plants it is that you are trying to import. Otherwise, custom is just going to seize it and send it back, and that's a headache. My experience with importing plants from Indonesia has been, like I said, pretty good. He shipped it via DHL Express. The first time went pretty smooth. It showed up at the house. It arrived in like 3 days, and I was really impressed with that. The second order, I actually had to go to customs and pick it up, and that was a nightmare. Just because the lack of communication between DHL and customs is like none, and everyone has their own way of doing things and their systems don't speak to each other. So what had happened with me was I had actually paid the customs and duties prior to it even arriving to Canada. Now when you do that, it's like customs thinks, okay, you've already paid for it, tell DHL to release the package. But DHL doesn't want me to pay for it prior to it landing in Canada, because they want the the customs to, I guess, give me the proper customs and duties, taxes that I have to pay. I don't know, it was just, they just don't talk to each other, and it was 3 hours of my life that I'm never gonna get back. It was a mess. What else? I think the third time was the last time, and that's when I had a lot of issues with my package, where it just didn't arrive, and no matter how many times I had spoken to DHL, they were like, oh, it's on their way, you don't have to worry about it, and my package just never arrived until now. It still hasn't arrived, and mind you, I had this shipped out to me in November. So I guess what I would recommend is don't place your order during the winter months, because your plant is going to die. And during COVID times, I think there was just a huge delay, and it was like Black Friday and just, you know, a bunch of other stuff that was going on that probably delayed it, and that's the reason why my stuff got pushed back, and now it's just dead, and he has to resend it to me. What else can I think of off the top of my head? I think that's pretty much it. I think you just need to do your research and have a good relationship with your seller, and just be able to build that relationship with them so that there's trust and that they're willing to ship it out to you. Now, my seller was actually pretty amazing in the sense that he would actually take pictures of all of the plants that I was getting, and like I would tell him, oh, like this is what I want, can you show me a picture of it? And he'll show me what he has available, and then I'll tell him, oh, like I want one that is more minty, or one that's more I don't know, more silver, or I want the bigger one. So he was actually pretty cool about it, and super nice. And like I said, he didn't have to do that. And I think for me, I just had really bad luck the last couple of times, because it was during COVID and we had our second wave, which just made it so much harder to get anything. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys all experienced your packages getting delayed and not arriving on time. Almost done here. Check this out. I have imported with Thailand before. I've only dealt with 2 companies. I believe it was Alpine Tropicals and Aaliyah. Aaliyah was actually not too bad, in the sense that they were pretty quick with responding and sending me back emails and whatnot, and the transferring of money was easier because we used TransferWise. Oh, when I was importing with Indonesia, I used PayPal, and whenever my plants arrived kind of like weird, or it was dead, or I had a missing item or something, he would just refund me my money, because he was just good like that. Now with Thailand, definitely not the case. The reason for that is because, well, one, it was shipping during winter times, and I figured, oh, well, it's being shipped during winter times, however, it's not being shipped by DHL, it's being sent by Dragon couriers. And I think the first import I did with Thailand was with Alpine, and just getting the money sent to them was kind of a pain, because they didn't use TransferWise, and I had to use either Western Union or directly deposit it from my bank account into theirs, and then wait a few days for it to be processed. They did try to send me photos before they shipped it out, but it was just, they were super busy, and I think they were just trying to push everything out before like winter really kicked in and kicked everybody's butt. So with that said, the product that came in wasn't too bad. I just wasn't really happy with what I had received, because I was expecting something else. But that's what happens when, you know, you don't really have that kind of relationship with the other seller, and you know, they're a bigger store or nursery, so you don't really get to pick and choose your plants. Unlike Indonesia, I was able to pick and choose what I wanted because his nursery was a lot smaller. Now, in terms of shipment, it arrived within 5 days to my door, no problem. The plants arrived in fairly good shape actually, but like I said, I just was dissatisfied because it wasn't the plant that I had anticipated in getting. Now with Aaliyah Gardens, I don't think I'll ever order anything from them. The reason for that is because they do not have a return policy. Everything that arrived was dead. Like, there's no saving it. It was just dead. And I had sent them a message immediately and had taken pictures immediately that everything was dead and nothing was viable. And they just said, well, I'm sorry, there's just no refunds. And I was like, well, what the hell? Like, how did, like, it's just not fair for the buyer because, you know, we put hundreds of dollars and it's dead and you are doing absolutely nothing about it. And it wasn't even like I was asking for my money back. I had first asked if they can reship it and they said no. And then I had asked, okay, well, can you give me a partial refund? They said no. Don't recommend it. And I think after a while of us emailing back and forth, they just stopped responding to me. So I wouldn't work with them again. Maybe during the spring when, you know, shipping is gonna be okay and not during COVID times, then I think it'll be okay. But in terms of ever dealing with them again, probably not. And I'm almost done here. I just have like these little roots. Wow. Okay, so this is what we're left with. Not bad. I see some notes here where I think if I were to do a little chop, it'll give me some babies. Like I see one here, and I think another one over here. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna stick it in some ponds. Okay, so sorry for the intermission. I'm gonna be using my do-it-yourself. Let's choose the ponds today. So I had to pull out my phone to look at the questions. Philodendron Mama asked, what is the percentage of plants that has shipped to you that arrived in decent condition? So, trick question. All of my plants that came from Indonesia from this particular seller, 100% all the plants were beautiful. Like, they were perfect. Even like the delay that it had when it was sitting in customs and I had to go self-declare it myself, the plants just arrived perfectly. I think within 2 days they all perked up and I was able to put them in soil. Some that were struggling were just struggling, and that's just the way it is. Like, I find philodendrons in general have a harder time shipping. I don't know why, but mind you, like, I shipped like, I brought in more anthuriums. Anthuriums are like my jam, so they shipped in beautifully. I had 0 issues with them. Philodendrons are always kind of like hit and miss. Like, if the root system wasn't so good to begin with, you're gonna have some issues with it. So now, with that said, with the Thailand import that I had brought in, I think, some monsteras, some syngoniums, and I think that was it. The syngoniums bounced back like pretty quick. They were in great condition. To be honest, like, everything was in really good condition. Like, you just have to be able to acclimate them and root them if necessary. But just, you know, Aliyah garden, that one was just like 0. There was 0% of plants coming back that were good. It was a complete disaster. Plant Mama asks, what's your acclimating process? What I do is I let them sit in water, put them in indirect light so that they're getting used to the environment that it's in, and then it's going to be like a week later where you're going to really see the decline. So you can either leave them in water to see how it's going, but in my experience, and because I trust my seller, I didn't have an issue with my anthuriums. With my philodendrons that I got from him, unfortunately I did have to baby it a little bit, so it was sitting in moss. I did that whole like leca and moss thing, and it started to root within, I think, 4 weeks. Sometimes it can take 4 weeks, but I never had an issue with any of his stuff. What else? So Plant Mama also asked, what's a reasonable pricing for shipping to Canada? I can't really say. From my experience, it's like it ranged from 90 to 150 when I was dealing with my seller in Indonesia, but with Thailand, I think it was almost like $200 to $220 to ship. So orders like that, I try to like do a group order with some friends and ask if they're interested to help reduce the cost in shipping. She also asked the process of applying for a permit. I don't know if I was clear enough, but you want to log into the website mycfia, and you scroll down, you create an account, and then you fill in all your information. The only part that I would say to look out for is basically the section where it's asking what kind of plants you're importing. You're going to want to put down the species of your plant, and you're going to want to say it's unrooted, I think. I'll make a correction if I'm wrong. But there's like a part that says rooted or unrooted. I can't remember if I chose rooted or unrooted, so I'll put a thing down here. But then yeah, then you pay. So once you like do the whole thing online, a few days later they're going to send you an email to ask you to pay. I think it's like $35, and then you pay them, and then you get your permit. Now, I will say though, every time you make an amendment to your permit, you will be charged. I think it's like $10 or something like that. But I mean, Just for Socks asks, trusted stores, what to look for when they arrive, acclimating, and how to finally transfer to soil. So trusted stores, do your research, see what other people have done. I definitely hit up my friends who are in Vancouver and asked, oh, did you import with them? What was your experience like? Would you do it again? And you know, we trade information like that. What to look for when they arrive? Hopefully in really good condition. Definitely take pictures when they arrive, because sometimes if they're really bad, and your seller will give you a refund, or like they're gonna be more willing to give you a refund if you take pictures right when they arrive, and then obviously take videos or pictures of it slowly declining. how to acclimate and transfer to soil. Like I had said previously, I do leave mine in water every 2 days. Every 1 to 2 days, I'll actually change out the water and give it fresh water and re-add the Super Thrive. Honestly, I'm just doing it to keep it hydrated until it plumps up, and then depending on the depending on the roots, if it's good enough, it goes straight into soil. If it needs a little bit more work in TLC, it'll go into moss and leca or ponds, whichever. That's up to your discretion and the plant. I will say though, if you up the humidity, I think it does a lot better. I find that when I throw them into my cabinet right away, it seems to be much more happier versus when I had left it outside on my table. So I think what I did the first time was I left it outside, and the leaves started to kind of like harden a little bit and be a little like show its structure. Whereas like I think the second time when I had imported, I threw them into the IKEA cabinet and there was more humidity and it like plumped up faster. Okay, so my plant friends asked, why does Canada have such strict importing rules? Girl, I don't know. I think Canada in general just has strict everything rules. I mean, I find that like stuff in the US is so readily available compared to Canada. So I don't know, we have our own rules that we go by. So there's 2 other resources that you can use to import plants. One would be Equiflora and the other is Ecuador. Equiflora, well, for both of them, it's going to be my first time importing through them, with them. Yeah. Equiflora, I actually did a group order with somebody else who has orchestrated everything, and I basically sent in my order and hopefully my plants arrive. Ecuador is easier for me to work with because it's on the website. You literally see what's in stock, add to cart, and be done with it. Now, Ecuador, I do believe you have to check out when they will be coming to your area. So I think for me, it's going to be arriving in March, and I would basically be texting some person and go to the orchid show and pick up my plants. With Equiflora, because you're dealing with the seller, it can either be shipped directly to your house. In my case, I do believe he's setting it up with plant runs. Big shout out to plant runs, by the way. Without them, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably be sitting in traffic for like hours. If you're in Canada and you're in the GTA region, definitely check them out, see their rates. They are like Uber Eats, but for plants, and honestly, without them, I wouldn't have as many plants as I do. So I hope I answered all your questions and that it was helpful. If I missed anything, please leave a comment down below or send me a message on Instagram. Are you following me on Instagram? My Instagram handle is leaflet.co. I will be doing some live videos when I get my imports, and hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!